everybody, welcome to FabFit Friday. I have an exciting episode for you guys today. I'm just plugging in my machine. Okay. All right, so today, right before Mother's Day weekend, I have a fun project that I want to share with you that is a super fabulous thing to do because it's a great summer accessory. So let me just show you. Hey ladies, hi Diane, hi Kathy, hi Judy, hi Janie. We are going to be making this hat. Look how cute it is. I'll put it on my head. It's not finished. I didn't sew the lining in yet, but it's got a sort of a floppy brim. So I'm going to show you how to fix the brim, and I will update the pattern from this to a neater looking brim. And I'm super excited. This one's going to be for my mom, and actually the floppiness works for her. So if you like to have a floppy brim like this, it's a perfect circle brim. So I'm going to show you how to make it so it's not so full, and actually it'll point down a little bit. Oh, all right, let's see. Oh, Janie loves hats, and Kathy says, gasp, that's gorgeous. I'm super excited about the way these colors came out, so I'm going to talk about paper piecing and how to make paper pieced fabric that then you can cut out your hat pieces from. But I'm also going to show you just how to sew the hat, making a plain denim hat. All right, let me just stop. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Linda Lee. Welcome. All right, if you guys are members of my J Stern Designs Fit Sew Embroider group on Facebook, I'm going to post this pattern in there as soon as I fine-tune the brim a little bit. You can make this floppy brim. It's in there already. I just want to show you how to make it less floppy. Then I'll put it in there and you can make this. One of the upgrades I did from last year when I made the floppy hat is that I made 3 sizes. So you can see this, my head, I'm just going to measure it for you just so you can get a good idea. So if I measure around my head, like where I would wear the hat, it is 23 inches. So this is the large size. And when I put it on my head, there's plenty of room in there for even a little bit bigger head. There's also a small and medium size. So there are sizes for all heads this time. Last year I just made 1 size. And this year I'm updating it. You can see the pins all around are pinned because this version is lined, and the lining for the brim is sewn to itself, but the lining for the crown is added on after so you can finish the edges nice. So this is going to be super fun. So the first thing I want to show you here is, let me switch my view. Hi Elizabeth, welcome. Oh, Linda Lee says, thank you so much for this pattern. You are entirely welcome. Super excited. Let me just switch my view here. Okay, so I got the pattern out of this book. Carol Doak is the most amazing paper piecer, and I have 2 of her books actually. So what I want to do first, I'm going to show you the design, and then I'm going to show you what it looked like pieced together. I put it in the J Stern Designs group, but I did this Cindy's block. Let me just make it a little less bright here. Okay, so I've got this Cindy's block, and the thing about paper piecing is it's very, very easy to do. I'm going to give you some tips so you have success and you cut out pieces that are big enough. And just for anybody who is not in my Facebook group, I'm just going to show you how the final piece looked. Okay, so that's how the fabric looked after I pieced together there are 4 blocks, 16 units, I'm sorry, 16 units right here, makes 4 blocks, and I made 4, I made 4 finish blocks, and it looks like this. All right, so that's what the fabric looks like, and you'll notice that when you cut it out and make it into something, you know, the actual pattern of the block really doesn't show as much, but it just makes interesting fabric to sew something like a hat, and it gives you fun places to quilt. So you'll notice I quilted in the bigger areas that was background fabric that ended up, you know, meeting each other when I sewed, you know, when I sewed the blocks together. So I did some quilting, and then I quilted around some of the other pieces. So it does make a fun, you know, it does make fun fabric. The top of my crown looks like that. I did some circular quilting, and I also just made a little X in the top here. Hi, Diane and Judy, welcome. We're working on this fun brimmed hat, bucket hat today. This is actually going to be my mom's Mother's Day gift. This is all her fabric, actually. So I was working on it yesterday while I was at my parents', and my dad is like, oh, who is that for? And he said, oh, it's for Mom for Mother's Day. So she'll be happy because it's very lightweight and it fits loosely on her head. So she'll be able to have that on when she's in the sun. So very excited. So that's what my hat looks like using this Cindy block from Carol Doak's book. Okay, so see. All right. And the book is Bright and Bold Paper Piecing Blocks from Carol Doak. And it makes a 12-inch finished square. So, again, I put 4 of those together to have enough fabric to make the hat. All right, so what I want to do is show you how to paper piece. I'm just going to do one of these blocks for you. And it really doesn't matter what the style or shape of your block is. The process is the same. So I've printed out some copies of the pattern. So basically you just copy this. You need paper to stitch on. So I made some blocks, and what I'm going to do here is, when I copied this, the trouble became this got distorted, so I'm just going to go ahead and fix it so you can clearly see the ends of the block, because that's important. Like this. Okay, so the outer edge, of the block is important because you need to know where that is, because you have to add seam allowance to each of these units after you sew it. So the first thing is, when you're working on a paper piecing project, you're going to look in the book, and I'm just going to zoom in here so you can see. Okay, it tells you how many of each fabrics you need and what sizes they are. So basically, I'm going to need, to do one unit, I only need a quarter of what's on this list, because this list is for the whole 12-inch block that's finished here. So they give you the dimensions to cut out, and I'm sorry, I wish I had cut out before I came on, but I have all the fabrics that I used pretty handy, so I can just very quickly show you. My light green is going to be this color, and my dark green is going to be this color. They're very similar, but you can, you know, pick things that you like. I just keep trying to adjust my light so you can see. So I'm going to use these two. Oh, Linda Lee says that she loves paper piecing, and she's made quilts from this book. This is a really great book. If you guys are interested in paper piecing, definitely check it out. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut, for the green pieces, I need 2x5 and 2x6. Okay, that's down here. That's for these green pieces. Okay, so I'm just going to cut those. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is already 6 inches, and this is 6 inches. So instead of fussing and cutting it down to 5 inches. I'm just going to cut 2 of these, and I only need one actually. That's 1 by 2 inches, and then I need another one that's 2 inches. So I'm just going to cut this off at 2 inches like this. Okay. So now I've got my 2 green leaves. My background, I need, this was my background that I used. I need a okay, so for this I need a 3 by 6. So I'm just going to cut 3 inches. And then I'm just going to cut it down to 6 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I need 2 3 by 6s actually. Dummy. I'm going to use this as a pattern piece. Hey Meg, welcome. Oh, Monica, welcome. You're a newbie to paper piecing. You are going to love this. So for those of you who want to dabble in quilting, but you're really nervous about keeping that 1/4 inch seam allowance, there's only a couple times when you have to worry about that in paper piecing, so it almost is a little bit liberating. Okay, so then I need 2 by 5 1/2. So again, I should have just cut them all the same size here. Let me just cut these 2 by 5. Oops, let me just cut this straight here. All right, so I'm going to fold this down 2 inches. I'm sorry, I really meant to have this cut before I came on. I just ran out of time. Okay, so now I've got my 2. Now, if you're guesstimating, guess a little bit bigger. So like if you've got pieces that are similar, like if you have 6 and 6 1/2, or 6 and 5 1/2, and you want to make easier work, just make them all that bigger size, and I'm going to show you why in a minute. All right, and then I just need 1 2 by 4 of this. So I'm just going to cut a 2 by 4 here. 2, 1 2 3 4. Just going to cut it right here. Plenty. And then lastly, I need the flower colors, and I just need 1 2 1/4 by 6 1/2 and 2 1/4 by 8. So again, here's 2 1/4-ish by 6, and then I need an 8-inch strip out of this one. I'm just going to cut it right here. So I need 8 by 2. So I'll just do this 2 1/2. So I'll just, oops. Let me just cut off this piece and then I'll make it what I need. Okay. This is 2 1/2 by, oh, that isn't quite 2 1/2, but that's all right. I'll show you how. Let's say you only have this scrap and it's not quite 2 1/2 on this side. I'm going to show you how to work with that. If you end up with just like a little funky piece, see how that's got a cutout in it? I'm going to show you how to work with that. Okay, so I've got all my pieces now. Oh, Monica says this is helpful to see me cut it out. Okay, so now I just want to remind you, the important thing is that when you look at your chart for the amount or the sizes, just make sure you cut them out at least that big, if not a little bigger. And I already did the math here for 4 blocks. So if you want to do a 12-inch paper piece block to make the hat, you'll need 4 of them. 4 12-inch blocks, so 4 finished blocks. Okay, so I've cut out my pieces. The next thing that you can do to make your life easier is, what should I do with my, if you're new to paper piecing and you're worried you're going to screw it up, the other thing you can do is you can put on your actual pattern what each one is. So this is my 2x4 background, BG for background. Then I have the leaves. So I have, this is my 2x5, 2x5. This is my 2x6. You can see it's longer, right? 2x5, 2x6. Then we have the background, the pink. Let's do the pinks. This is going to be my 2.5 times 8. This is my 2.5 times 6. This is light and this is dark. So I make myself little notes. And then all the rest of these, this is going to be my 3x6, 3x6. This is going to be my 2x5.5 and 2x5.5. Now once you make one of these, you don't have to label each one because you'll get into a system. And to be honest with you, the way I did the fabric for my hat is I did each one 16 times because I need 16 of these to make 4 blocks, because there's 4 blocks, there's 4 units in each block. So I went through and I did each step 16 times, which makes it a little bit easier to sort of get in the groove of things. So basically now, the first step is, let me see if I can show you this. I'm going to widen my view a little bit here. You're going to take the first piece, it's the 2x4, and you're going to stick it behind the shape. And I want to see if I can get it so you can see. Hold on one second. All right, hold on. I want to see if I can show you here. Okay. I want to see if you can see. If you put the light, if you put your paper in front of your machine light, you should see the outline of the fabric. See how you can see that square behind the fabric? And what you want to do is you want to center it so that it's got fabric all the way around that diamond shape right there. So see how I can see the outline of it? I think you can see. Okay, and where I'm going to pin is between 1 and 2. So the first thing you're going to do is the seam between the number 1 shape and the number 2 shape. So when you're labeling your pieces, don't write on the actual numbers that are already printed on the pattern, because then it'll be harder for you to keep track. So basically now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pin, and I am just going to, with my fabric completely covering the shape, I'm going to put a pin parallel to the line between 1 and 2. Let me just get it on there and then I'll show you. Okay, so you can see, I think you can see the fabric under there, and I put a pin between 1 and 2, parallel. Okay, that's the first step. So now we're going to go to the sewing machine, and basically the other thing I want to set up here is I want my mini iron. So you guys know I have the mini iron. This is perfect for paper piecing because I can have it right by my machine. It's nice and small. So I'm going to plug that in and get that ready. And I literally can have it right by my machine. Let me just get my little pressing board. What do I do with that? Oh, here it is. Alright, I'm just going to move all this fabric and stuff out of the way. Alright, so I've literally got my cut and press. I've got my little cutting surface right here, or my pressing surface right there, so I'll be able to show you that. All right, so I've got my machine set up with a, this is a open toe foot, okay, so that's going to help us see. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it underneath. You want to make sure that the fabric is laying flat against the back. Oh, Kim's mini iron came and she's so excited to use it. Well, see, Kim, you can do paper piecing. This will be so much fun. You want to use a size 16 needle because the 16 needle will punch a pretty big hole. Oops. Just trying to get this so it's clear to see what we're doing here. All right, I think that's clear. Okay, so I'm going to start at the very end of my line between 1 and 2. Once I've got it in there, I'm going to remove the pin. And again, you want to just make sure that your fabric is not folded under. So I've got a size 14 needle. I'm going to set my stitch length to 1.5, which is very short. The reason why I want a shorter stitch length is because it'll perforate off the back of your project easier. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to start sewing, and I'm literally just going to sew right down this line. And I'm going to back tack on the end so it doesn't come undone. I'm going to stay right on my line. When I get to the end of the line, I am going to just back tack a couple. Okay, that's step 1. Look how exciting that looks. So now you can see back here, you can see the seam. So what we're going to do here is we are going to my lighting is really yucky today. Let's do that. All right, so what you want to do is if you take a piece of cardboard, or let's say you have handy an envelope, I'm just going to put that right on the line I stitched, and I'm going to fold it back like this. What that gives me is the edge where the seam is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to cut off the fabric and leave myself a 1/4 inch seam allowance to line up the next piece. So basically we're just going to cut this at a 1/4. Okay, it's good to have either a scrap bin or something that you're going to put these in, because then you don't have to have a mess on the floor. And we have a tip from Gary. Gary says if you use freezer paper to copy the design onto, the freezer paper holds the fabric in place. That is a great tip, Gary. Thank you. Okay, so now I've got my thing looking like this. So let's turn it over and look. The next step is to do 2. Now notice where 2 is. I'm going to just color it in just so you can really see here. This is where 2 needs to go. Okay, so it's coloring it in because it's important to see that 2 sticks out all the way over here. Plus, we have to keep in mind that this is the edge of our pattern. We're going to add a 1/4 inch to this when we cut it out. So when I get my number 2 piece, which is going to be my 2x5 green, okay, here's my piece. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this back around, and I'm going to position it like this. Now see, the fact that I colored it in and I can see on the reverse side where that is, if I were to position this like this, notice what would happen once I turned it. See how it wouldn't cover the area? You have to make sure you're positioning the piece So when you turn it, it's going to cover the area. So it has to cover all of this, and it has to stick out a 1/4 inch over here so we have enough for a seam allowance. The other thing we want to check is we want to make sure that it's going to cover the back or the inner part as well. So I'm pretty happy with the position of that because I can see that it will cover there, and I can see that it will hang off the edge over here. So the next step is I'm just going to bring my machine back over, and I'm just going to flip it over. I'm not going to pin it, but I'm just going to double check that everything looks good. And we are now going to sew the line between between 1 and 2. So actually I'm going to be stitching on this line again. So another thing is some people, when they do this first step, they actually sew around the entire shape. I'm not going to do that. I'm just doing the area, you know, that's right between 1 and 2. This is the only time you're going to double stitch a seam. Alright, so now let's look and see what we have. So now I am going to do this, and I'm just going to sneak my little pressing surface here with my mini iron, and I'm literally just going to press this flat. So you want to press as you go. Okay, so that's how it looks right now. And the next step is we're going to trim our next edge. Okay, so we've got, I'm going to turn it back this way. So now we're going to do between, so you have a choice. If you want to go in order, we can go between 2 and 3 over here. Sometimes, and I'll show you this, after I do 3, I can do like 4 and 5 together without, you know, do them both steps together before I trim. But basically now we're going to do this area here, and just to give myself that visual cue about how far it has to extend, I'm just going to put a dot at the top of this. This is what we're doing right now, this area right here. Okay, and that's the other green. So we need to sew on the line between 2 and 3. So again, I'm going to fold my paper down along the 2 and 3 line like this, and you'll notice what you end up with is this weird jaggy little scraps here. I'm going to just take my ruler and I'm going to cut those to 1/4. Okay, and then I'm going to put my number 3 fabric, which is my other green, needs to go here. Now remember, it needs to extend, oops, I'm sorry, it needs to extend to the tip, but then it also needs to hang off the edge over here. So if I put it like this, I can see I'm going to reach both those goals. So again, I'm just going to turn my paper over, and I'm just going to double check to make sure everything is nice. And I am going to sew between my 2 and 3, which is so I'm going to go right here. I'm going to start on the end down here. And again, I'm going to take a couple stitches forward. Wow, what happened now? I bet you I'm not in the take-up lever. Yes, my fabric is not, I mean my thread is not in the take-up lever. So of course, I'm just going to cut my threads. If if this happens and you get a jam, don't rip you'll tear your paper if you try to rip it out. So just gently, gently get that out. And then also my bobbin is really small, so I'm going to just going to stick in this bobbin right here, so I have plenty of bobbin. Where did I put my bobbin cover? There it is. All right, and then let me just make sure I'm threaded right on top. Sorry about that. But I'm kind of glad that happened, because if your machine jams, don't pull it hard, because what will happen is you'll tear your paper pattern. So let me just rethread this. I'm just going to do a couple more of these pieces. I want to get to show you how to make the hat too, so I'm being a little ambitious today. All right, let me just reposition my fabric here. Okay, so I just repositioned it, and we're going to sew from here. We'll start on this end. So again, I'm just going to go, I'm going between one and, well, 2 and 3 really, but it's also going along 1. I'm doing the entire line. Alright, so now let's take a look at that. If I flip that over, again, I just want to give it a little press. So pressing as you go also helps to make a nice, neat project. I'll just stick this back over here. Okay, and now we are going to look at our thing here. And the next number is 4 over here, but also 5, right? So I'm going to do 5 first, because I'm over on the side. And actually, I think I can even just, instead of using my envelope, I can use my ruler here to fold it back. That works too. So again, what you're going to see is you're going to come upon edges that you already trimmed as you work. So you can see that this, it starts to get really kind of intuitive once you do a couple pieces. Okay, so now I've got that edge ready to go, and we're going to put 5 in there, and 5 is one of the background pieces that is 2 by 5.5. So it's this piece right here. So again, I am going to position it in a way where I can see that I'm gonna, when I flip it down, it's gonna go past my border, plus it's extending past the tip of the shape on this side. So now we're going to go back again, and I'm going to sew on the line between 3 and 5. Alright, so that's how that looks. So again, this is why it's really good to have an iron right next to you, so you don't have to keep jumping up and going to your full-size iron. You know, and if I wasn't showing you this, I wouldn't be moving my mini iron, you know, back and forth, but I want to show you the whole process. Alright, so now we've got, so now I'm going to go over here to 4, because I did 5, so 4 is right here. So again, I'm going to use my ruler as a straight edge to press that back. Okay, and then I'm just going to flip it around, cut that. Alright, so now I'm going to do this one over here. So when I'm doing these in sort of in a production sewing style, I would trim both those edges, sew both those edges, press both those edges, and then move to the next block. You know, trim those edges, sew those edges, press those edges. And that way it makes it a little bit easier to position your fabric, so you're not gonna have, you know, I mean, you want to make sure you position your fabric so it covers the entire area. All right, so we're going to go between 4 and 2 now. Okay, so again, I'm going to press this. So this next one I'm going to do, I'm going to show you what happens when you don't position your piece correctly. So first I wanted to show you how to make sure that your piece is correct. Let me show you what happens when you don't position your piece properly. So our next one is going to be 6. 6 is one of the flower colors, one of the lavender colors. So again, I'm going to use my ruler and I'm going to go along this line right here. Okay, and I'm going to trim to 1/4. And then I'm going to get my piece and I'm going to lay it down here. Actually, this one, all right, so let's say I did this. Let's say I lined it up like this. Okay. And it looks right, right? I mean, it's lined up with the edge. Let's see what happens if I do it like that. So again, we're doing 6. That's like too bright. Oh, I think this is what's messing it up. Okay. Oh, I feel like the lighting in this is awful. It makes it really easy if you use an open toe foot to make sure you're sewing on the line. All right, let's press this one back and see how it looks here. Okay, so that looks okay. Let's turn it around and see. All right, so I think that that one might actually make it. It's very, very close down here to being not covering, but I think I did catch it. Let me do a little bit more of a messed up positioning so you can see, because that's pretty close. So I'm going to go now to the line between all of this. 6 is what we just did here. We want to do 7 now. So I'm going to use my ruler to fold on this line right here. And I'm going to trim that. Okay. Okay, so I did actually make it on that one. I might not have enough on the very end, but it's pretty close. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this piece right here. So you can see this piece is narrower. I have a screw up over here. So if we look at the shape of it, if I position this boo-boo cutout over here on my narrower part, it will work. Okay. Oh, thank you, May Cat Cooper says that my lighting is fine. It just looks funny on my monitor today. Okay, so I am going to put this like this. Now here's where I made a mistake on this piece on my first one, and this is why. I have it positioned like this. It looks like I'm going to be okay. Let's try it. And again, I'm sewing along this line number, along the number 7. Let's just turn this, press this. Okay, so again, I'm just gonna give it a nice press. Okay. All right, now let's see what we have. Okay, so this is, I can see here I'm going to miss it a little bit. See, I don't have any fabric in that corner. Okay, so that's an example of what can happen if you don't make sure your pieces are long enough to hang over the edge. All right, so that's a screw up. I just have 2 more pieces to put on, so I'm just going to quickly do them. So as an example of, you know, how to make it faster, if I fold on this line and trim my quarter, and then I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to fold on this line. These are my last 2 pieces. I'm going to trim my cord over here. Okay, so see, now I've got both sides. So essentially now I can take these last pieces and I can line them up and do one at a time, but I can get them both done, and then I'll show you how to finish the square. All right, so again, I'm just going to sew between 7 and 9. Oops. Oops. Let me just shut my machine off for a second. I pressed a button and it was doing something funny. Okay, here we go. My stitch length needs to be 1.5. And here we go. Okay. Then I'm just going to flip it around and I'm going to position the last piece right here. And I'm going to stitch here. Okay, and just another note, any of my internal points, so like any of these points that you see over here, those need to be stopped exactly on the line. On the edge, if I wanted to stitch past the border, that doesn't hurt it. So you can go past the point or the line on the ends around the border, but internally they have to start and stop to create those sharp points there. Oops, too much. Okay, so I'm just going to give this a quick press, and then I'm going to finish off this square to show you where my boo-boo is. Alright, so that takes care of my pressing. Now, again, some people will sew along this whole outside line. I don't do that. You can if you want to. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut myself 1/4 inch all the way around. So you sew these individual blocks together using that little 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay. All right, so let's look at our block from the right side now. Okay, so you can see here where this number 7 piece wasn't long enough to cover this end. So I did that in a couple places on this hat, and I just want to show you. Let me see. Once it gets very busy, then you really can't see. Just looking for a boo-boo in here to show you. I think there's a place in here where I have an extra seam because I patched that hole. And I thought I saw it in here. No, maybe not. I thought I used... Well, I can't find it now. Alright, so if you're making something busy like this, okay, you can see if there's an extra seam somewhere in here, you're never going to notice it. So if this happens to you, what you can do is you can literally fold back a little bit here, cut it to a 1/4, you know, and then you can add a scrap of the matching fabric, and I don't have a handy scrap, so I'm just going to use this, but I'll show you how you can patch this. So now if I just put this right here, and then I'm going to just use the fact that I can see the edge right there, and I'm just going to stitch here. You can see now I can press this down and trim it to fix it. So if you make a boo-boo, you can totally fix it. You know what I mean? In the big scheme of things, that would not be super noticeable, because I do have in this hat, there were 2 blocks where I was short on my background fabric, and I just sewed more background fabric in there, and now I can't even find it. So if you do make a boo-boo, don't worry. No one will know. So that's how you do paper piecing. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you. And again, you need 4 of these units to make a 12-inch block. I needed 4 completed blocks sewn together to have enough fabric to make this hat. Okay, so that's how you paper piece. Now I want to show you the hat pattern itself. So let me get that. So I'm working with the largest size here, and I cut out the pieces out of denim, and I just want to show you how they go together here. Hold on. Let me just find my top of my crown here. Okay, so this is the top of the hat. This is the side of the crown, and it goes together with this, like this. Okay, this is cut on the fold. Okay, this you just cut. You need 1 of these for the hat, 1 batting, 1 lining. Same thing, cut on the fold, 1 hat, 1 batting, 1 lining. And then this piece right here was a perfect circle, and what I want to do is create a brim that points down a little bit. My original inspiration for this project is this hat right here, and you can see the brim actually points down. It doesn't lay flat when you put the hat on the table. So to create a brim that looks like this, you need to get rid of some of the measurement on the outside edge. So what I did was I cut my circle in half. This was a perfect circle. The pattern piece is 1 unit. So when you look at the pattern piece, it's literally 1 unit like this, and you cut 4 of them and then you tape them together into a circle. So that's how you get the 1-piece brim. That is this piece right here. Okay, but I want to make it so it stands up. So what I did was I cut it here, overlapped it 3/8, and I cut it here and overlapped it 3/8. Okay, so you can see I got rid of 3/4 of an inch of or fullness on the outer edge. That's going to work out to be 1.5 inches because you need 2 of these now. I added seam allowances so I can sew them together. Let's see. Oh, okay, so wait, let me just back up here. Thank you, Barbara. Barbara says, the hat is so very cute. Thank you, Barbara. If you missed the beginning, the pattern will be in my J. Stern Designs Fit Sew Embroider group. I'll put it in there either later today or tomorrow. I just have to fine tune it and add this piece because this is going to be a new piece. May Cat Cooper would like a link to the book. I will definitely find the book and put a link to it. And Ingrid is currently picking out an invisible zipper. I'm so sorry, Ingrid. And Gary says, I paid for a paper piecing class at a quilt shop that cost $50 to learn what you just shared. Oh, well, you know, that's the thing about YouTube. There's a lot of free information. But, you know, I do understand, too, like, I teach classes that you have to pay for. So, you know, sometimes it's nice to take a paid class. Sometimes it's nice to get free information. That seems like a lot of money to learn just what I showed you, though. But anyway, I'm so happy this is helping you guys. Oh, Kathy Cooper. I'm sorry, Kathy Cooper. All right, I'll stop saying May Cat Cooper. It's Kathy Cooper, everybody. All right, so you guys see what I did here. Now, when I took out the E's here and here, my circle would not lay flat. I'm pretty sure if I cut 2 of these, I could tape it together here, and then I would just have 1 seam on my brim. That's why I want to fine-tune it before I put it in the group and give it to you as a pattern, because I'm pretty sure I could take the other, see, here's the other half of my circle. I'm pretty sure if I created the same adjustment to this piece, I could then tape it here and there would just be 1 seam. Do you see what I'm saying? But for now, I'm just going to go with 2 seams because I already sewed it, I already cut them out. So let's start with the brim. Okay, so here are my pieces for the brim. I'm just going to quickly show you how to sew this together. If you're not quilting it, it goes together really, really fast. So here are my lining pieces. I'm going to put those aside for now. I'm going to put my batting and my denim together. And I think just to keep everything from sliding around, I ran out of my 505 spray. So I am just going to pin inside this hat or inside the brim to hold all the layers together. I don't want to worry about taking these pins out at this point. I just want to keep my batting and my hat fabric together. So I'm just going to pin them together like this. If I had 505 temporary adhesive spray, I would definitely just spray them together and I wouldn't have to pin, but since I don't have that, I'm going to do this. All right, so, and also while I'm pinning, I have an update for the prom gown I worked on. Now that we've hemmed, we're going to add spaghetti straps. So when you see the pictures of her at the prom, she will have little spaghetti straps on. I'm kind of happy that she wants spaghetti straps. I think that'll make it a more comfortable to wear. I'm never comfortable in a strapless. All right, so there are my two pieces. I'm going to put them right sides together, and I'm going to sew. So I'm just going to, since I've got pins going within my pieces, I'm going to get these together so everything matches, and I'm just going to wonder clip those together. So we're going to sew these short ends. But keep in mind, when you get your pattern, when you download the pattern, I'm hoping I can just get it down to one seam, and I'm pretty sure I can. So I just want to make sure all of this is nice and even here. Okay. And now while I'm here, I'm also going to take my lining pieces, and I'm going to pin those together as well. You can absolutely use fusible batting, absolutely, if you'd like to. I didn't have any of that on hand either. You could also use that fusible Basel foam stabilizer, which is nice, and it would give it more firmness too, depending on how, firm you wanted it. Oh, Monica wants to know where to find the group. I believe I have a link to join my Facebook group under all my videos. So you can just look in the description of my video, and there should be a link there. If it's not under my live, it'll be on like Fit Tip Tuesday. The brim piece looks wider than before. Well, because there's 2 half-inch seam allowances. That's why. I'm doing full half-inch seam allowances for this. That's why it looks wide. It's going to be a whole inch narrower once I sew it. Okay, so let's just sew these together here. Half-inch seam allowance, like I said. Oh, and you don't need to be at 1.5 when you're constructing. That'll take forever. I'll go to 2.7. Okay, so I've got one there. All right, now let's do these. Okay. And then I'm going to do these. Then I'm going to do this one. I definitely think either adhesive or fusible batting would be definitely easier to manage. All right, so now that I have that done, I'm going to bring back my little mini iron here. Sometimes these projects are fun for me. I know this isn't a garment. Well, it is. I mean, it's an accessory, but I really enjoy doing decorative and fun things, so I'm glad you guys are following along with me here. All right, I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to press my seam allowances open. So we're going to be open there. Oops. And then we're going to be open over here. All right, and then I'm going to also press my lining pieces so the seam allowances are open. Don't let the size of this mini iron fool you. It is very full strength. can press out all my little creases. I can press my seam allowances open. All right, now what we're going to do is we are going to take our brim pieces and we're going to put them right sides together. And I think I'll just match those seams just so they match. And basically now I am just going to, we are going to sew around this whole entire outside edge. So I am going to pin the edge, outside edge together. See how it doesn't really want to lay 100% flat? That's why I made it into two pieces instead. Okay, so all right, so I'm just going to pin all these edges together. Then I'm going to sew around the entire edge of the hat. And again, I'm going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Just going to make sure all my seam allowances are stay pressed open here. If you want your brim really firm, you can also interface the brim to give it a little bit more, give the lining a little more body. Okay, and then when you cut out your pieces, use the paper pattern pieces to cut out your lining. I used the batting with the top fabric as a pattern piece to cut my lining out, and I think it made it a little bit big. I was just trying to hurry up, so I think it would be more accurate, obviously, if you use the paper pattern piece. Diane loves her Aliso mini iron. All right, I'm coming around to the beginning here. So I'm just going to overlap my start point here. And now I'm going to do something that I normally don't do with a triple zigzag, but we want to hold this batting flat. So I am going to actually open this up like this, lay it back in there so I can stitch through my lining and both seam allowances. Now instead of doing a straight stitch, I'm actually going to do the triple zigzag. And I just want to show you the reason why I did that was, if you can see here, that zigzag did a really, really good job of keeping all those layers nice and flat around the edge of your brim. So instead of understitching with a straight stitch, I'm going to understitch with a triple zigzag, which of course takes longer, but I think it's worth the step. And the thing is, if you want to open it up a little, like let me make it 1.5 for my stitch length, and it'll go a little quicker. And I'm just going to work a little at a time, stretching the fabric away from each other as I sew. Let me get in there so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just using that triple zigzag to nail down everything. And again, as I sew, I'm pulling it away like this. We had a debate about this in the shirt jacket class with Twins and Needles. You know, whether to use a triple zigzag or a straight stitch to understitch. And originally I poo-pooed the idea, but there are times where the triple zigzag really keeps everything nice and flat. Oh, and Kathy's right, it does add a decorative touch too. But as the name says, triple zigzag, it takes triple the time to stitch. All right, I can see my end point, my start point, so I'm almost there. All right, we're coming to the start point. I'm just going to knock that off. Hi, Joland. Welcome. It's raining in Pennsylvania. I think it's going to rain here too today. Ugh. All right. Okay, so let's look and see what we have. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my iron back over here. Use my bigger. Get this one here now. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to press this so we want to press it so the denim curls to the underside slightly. Like that. So I'm just going to go around and give that a quick press. Okay. And then once I get around, I'm going to move my pins that I have in the denim and the fleece, and I'm going to pin all the layers together. Okay. All right, so this isn't going to lay flat because it's a little bit domed now because I took that ease out. So what I'm going to do here is, just to keep everything nice and neat around my edges, I'm just going to put a few wonder clips to help keep that brim edge nice and organized here. And then we're just going to quickly quilt the brim. Oh, Jolene says that's cute. Okay, so this hat pattern will be available in my J Stern Designs Fit Sew Embroider group. I'll put it up there later today or first thing tomorrow morning. I just want to make sure I get the brim, this brim shape correct. And again, these wonder clips are acting like my, you know, like a second hand in terms of how to sort of encourage it to stay pressed. All right, so I've got that. Then I'm going to just switch these pins so that I'm pinning through all the layers, not just the denim and the fleece. So I'm just going to take them out and repin so I'm catching the lining as well. You can see Liz, or Elizabeth, the brim is getting narrower now that I'm sewing. All right, so now I've got that all ready, and what we're going to do now is we're going to quilt it. I think doing some circular quilting actually helps the stiffness of it too. So I'm just going to start here. I'm going to go back to my straight stitch. I'm going to make my straight stitch 3.0 millimeters long. And I'm just going to leave my needle in the middle needle position, and I'm just going to stitch around the edge. And I've got gray in here right now, gray thread. Kind of pushing it through a little bit when I go over the seam allowances. All right, so I've got that one row. Now I'm just going to move my presser foot over so the edge of the presser foot is even with my first row stitching, and I'm going to go around again. I'm going to sneak my pins out of the way. I'm rushing a little bit because I just want to show you all the steps, so my quilting is not fabulously accurate. Alright, there we are. I'm going to back tack, cut. We're going to go again. By this time I probably could start taking out the pins, I think. Now I used variegated thread for the piece tat. It gets quicker and quicker to go around because your circle is getting smaller and smaller. Okay, so this denim is a little bit stretchy, so that's why I'm getting these little, you know, the fabric is pleating up a little bit. Fusible interfacing would have helped that. All right, we're just going to do a couple more rows here. I'm just going to do one more row of stitching here. I am not sewing straight. This is speed quilting. Oh, Elizabeth says, I used your old pattern from before and I think I'll wait for your new pattern. My brim is like 7 inches. Okay, so the pattern I'm going to upload will also include that floppier brim. So you can, you know, you can cut it down to any size. And actually, if you want to cut your other one down, you can. All right, so I'm just going to call it a day on this. So just know that the goal here is to sew channels around the brim. Okay, so just lighten that up so you can see. So see, the goal is to sew all the way around, and I would sew all the way up to the actual end, but I just wanted to give you an idea. The next step is, now these pieces, okay, so this is my the side of the crown, this lining piece. This is going to get sewn together like this. Okay, and this is going to get sewn together as well. I'm not going to quilt these pieces, I just want to show you how to put it together here. So basically, again, I'm just going to stick some pins into the middle of, to hold the batting. You know, and you can quilt this vertically. If you wanted to sew, you know, horizontally, you can really, you know, quilt this any way you want if you're doing a single piece like this. But again, these two pieces are going to get sewn separately. I'm just going to sew this at 1/2 inch. And then on this, I might actually finger press my seam allowances open and then top stitch them down so I don't have to worry about them flopping around. So that's all set there. Okay, so you can see that that makes the crown. And again, I'm also going to sew this to here, 1/2 inch. Okay. Now the way you finish the so I'm not gonna sew the top onto here yet. Okay, the top goes on like this. All right, I'm going to show you on the lining because I might want to, I'm going to quilt this later. I just don't want to take up time to quilt. So basically now the way this works is, here is my lining, and this is the wrong side of my lining because this is my seam. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to finger press that open like this. And then I'm just going to get my crown and I'm going to pin it to the top edge like this. And I've already tested this, so I know I can just go around and pin it. It'll match. So you're basically going to just go around, match the circle with the side of the crown. And you're literally just going to pin it all the way around, and then you're going to sew it at a 1/2 inch. And you're going to do the same thing with the outside of the hat. Just make sure you put right sides together, because you want, obviously, your seam allowances to all be on the wrong side. Batik doesn't have a right and wrong side, so my wrong side is going to be the side with all the seam allowances. Alright, so then when you've got it pinned all the way around, like this, then what you're going to do is you're going to sew it. And you're going to do the same step for the outside of the hat as you're doing for this. You're literally just going to lay it like this. Make sure nothing is caught underneath your presser foot. And you're just going to sew around at a 1/2 inch. And again, just be careful that you're not, catching any of that fabric over there. This is a little bit fussy because you're trying to sew a circle here. The outside of the hat is actually easier because it's firmer with the batting. The thinner layers are a little bit more fussy to sew. But like I'm getting around, I'm almost around. I can see my start point, so I'm almost there. Sorry about that, my daughter got a phone call. Alright, so see how it looks? Like this. So if I turn it, that's going to be the top of the hat, the lining. Okay. So basically, let me just show you how you put the rest of this together. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'm just going to do some down and dirty fast quilting so I can just show you quickly how to do it. So basically, I'm just going to go straight across here. So I can just sew it together in a few places here. Let me see. So if I do, where's that stitching I did? I don't even know if this is straight. I'm just going to do like every inch. I should be able to get around pretty quick. So like I said, I'm just quickly quilting this just so I can show you how to put it together. It'll just take a second. I'm just going to go. Oh, you know what? I should have started on the seam and then I would have been straight, but that's all right. I'm just going to... So I'm off to an angle a little bit with this quilting. I'm just going to go with it at an angle. It's okay. In my perfect life, I would have had this piece quilted before I came on today. This is just a down and dirty fast quilting idea here. Alright, so like I said, just every inch or so I'm just stitching down to the bottom. This is going to be my car hat, so when I'm driving with my sunroof open. And I'm about halfway. I'm going to start quilting a little bit farther away. I just want to get it so it'll stay. You could do decorative stitches here if you wanted to. You could do all sorts of fun stuff. Alright, I'm almost done. I'm literally just going to do a few more. This is like a gradiated quilting. I started closer together, now I'm getting farther apart just to finish it. Okay. Okay. Literally, I think I'm going to do just 2 more after this one. This could make a fun decorative serging project as well. You could do decorative, like decorative chain or cover stitches would be pretty on this. Alright, one more and then I'm going to call it a day. Let me just see here. Yep, I'm just going to do one more. You only have that much space. I'm just going to put one right down the middle and be done with it. Okay. Alright, so now we have our quilted brim, or not our quilted brim, we have our quilted side of our hat. Again, oh, let me just, this has got batting too. I'm just going to go straight across. I'm just going to do an X here. Oops. Just to hold it. Obviously, I could have done nicer quilting than that, but like I said, I just want to show you how to do it. So I'm going to turn this inside out, and I'm going to put this right side in, and I'm just going to pin it together like I did the other one. Now be careful that you're putting it on the smaller opening. The wider opening is where you sew the brim on, so make sure you're trying to attach your top to the smaller opening. So I'm just going to do this really quick, and then I'm just going to show you how to put the brim on, and then we're going to be done for today. But I want to get to finishing the pattern for you so you have it. But so you can see it's tested several times now. You don't have to worry about fitting any of the circles into each other because they match. See? Alright, so I'm just going to sew around this, and you're going to see that it's much easier to sew with the batting and all the layers. So we're going to sew it 1/2 inch. Okay, see how much faster that was? Oh, you can make applique out of the lining and put it on the denim. That's a good idea, Lynn. Okay, so here is my top of my hat. I did catch it in one place right here. I could go back and fix that. Basically, I just want you to understand I'm rushing to get this done so I could show you. So basically now, this piece is going to go on like this, and it's the same step. You're just going to pin it on here, sew around into a circle, and then you're going to set your lining in and finish it. So this is how this goes. I'm not going to sew this. I just want to show you how it goes. I want to make sure you guys can put this together. Hi Morgan, welcome. I'm coming. Morgan's here. I have to hurry up because I have to help finish her prom gown. So I'm gonna not sew anymore. I'm just gonna show you the rest of the steps and then I'm gonna be done. Alright, so this goes on like this. Alright, and then when you put it down, I think when it's pressed, it'll point down after it's pressed. So that goes like that. Then this one goes inside out, goes into the hat, and then after this is sewn, what you're going to do is you're basically going to fold this under and you're going to pin it on to finish the hat. And I can show you over here. See how I pinned from the right side, catching the folded edge on the wrong side? Can you see that? And I might actually hand sew this later while I'm watching TV. Basically, if you pin in the ditch on the outside, catching the lining on the inside, that's how you finish the lining. Okay, so that is my little hat tutorial. So I'm kind of excited. Yeah, I'm excited. All right, so again, if you join me at J Stern Designs Fit Sew Embroider on my Facebook group, I will have this pattern up there as soon as I finish Morgan's dress. So there you go. So let me see if I can put this on even though I didn't sew it. So the brim needs to be pressed, but I think it's going to be cute. So there you are, and here's this one. So anyway, this is the size large. If it's a 23-inch head, so measure your heads to pick small, medium, or large. If you have a head larger than 23 inches, you can cut the brim in quarters and spread it like a 1/4 inch, and then you can add a 1/2 inch to the outer edge and the brim, and it'll all go together. So anyway, stay tuned for the pattern. I will get that to you ASAP. I want to wish all the mothers out there happy Mother's Day this weekend. And for Fit Tip Tuesday, I have another wrinkle under the arm tutorial. If you've tried to move your bust dart and the fullness of your bust and you're still getting a wrinkle under your arm coming forward, I have a tutorial for that, and I have a before and after to show you how the adjustment fixes it. So that's what I will be doing for Fit Tip Tuesday. And next Friday, I think we do not have FabFit Friday because I'm teaching. Let me just be sure. Let's see, next week. Oops. Yeah, next week there is going to be no FabFit Friday because I'm teaching for Stitches at Home. So I'm sorry, I'm going to miss you guys. Yes, I'm teaching at 1 o'clock. Well, that's Central Time. I'm teaching at 2, so I'm not going to have time to figure out FabFit Friday next week. So anyway, I'm skipping a week of FabFit Friday. But I really want to see you guys make your hats, so I will get that pattern in there ASAP in my group, and I'm really excited to see how your hats come out. If anybody has any questions about that, please let me know. Elizabeth says Happy Mother's Day. Thank you. Lynn says, yay, love Fit Tip Tuesdays. Thank you so much. Kathy says, thank you so very much, Jen. It's adorable and perfect for a car hat. Happy prom sewing. You help make our lives perfect. Oh, well, thank you so much. And thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. And I will see you again in 2 weeks for FabFit Friday. All right? So thank you. And if anybody's in the Frenchy jeans with me, that's tomorrow with Fabric Mart Fabric. And if anybody wants to sign up for the Frenchy jean pattern, it's from noon to 3 Eastern Standard Time this Saturday, and then again on the 21st. That comes with a private fitting for that. So if anybody wants to do Frenchy jeans, you can get the PDF version, have it downloaded and ready to go for tomorrow. So I'll put a link to that below this video as well. All right, so Nora says thank you. Thank you, Nora. Thank you for watching. All right, I will see you guys later. I have to go get Morgan right now. All right, bye.